All right, so get this, okay? Imagine, like, a rodent, but it's the size of a dog.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's a capybara, and today we're going deep on capybaras.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we got this article. It's called Capybaras, Fascinating Facts About the World's Largest Rodents. And even
Okay.
I was surprised by some of this stuff in here.
Wow.
We're going to find out what makes these like giant chill rodents so unique. We'll talk about, everything from their social lives to their relationship with humans, which can be kind of complex.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You think world's largest rodent, you think of something hiding, right?
Yeah.
These guys are out in the open. They love water. Like, they're practically amphibious.
Yeah. So this article says that some adults can be over 4 feet long
Wow.
and way over 170 pounds.
Seriously.
I mean, that's heavier than most people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, to your point about them flipping the script, being so big, it makes them a major food source.
Mm.
Oh, some pretty serious predators. Jaguars, anacondas. If capybaras weren't around, it could really mess with the balance of their whole ecosystem.
Okay, so now I'm picturing like this massive rodent trying to outrun a jaguar.
Right.
How do they even survive?
Well, that's where the water comes in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these guys are incredible swimmers. They've got webbed feet.
Oh, okay.
They can even hold their breath for like several minutes to
Oh.
escape danger.
So it's like their secret weapon,
It is.
a little safe space. But the article also says they live in these like big groups, sometimes up to 20 individuals. Is that also for protection?
Oh, absolutely. More eyes looking out for predators, more members to, defend each other. It's fascinating because while they're prey for some animals, they're also what we call ecosystem engineers.
Ecosystem engineers. What does that even mean?
Well, it means they have a big impact on their environment, right? They're constantly grazing, which helps shape the landscape.
Oh.
By controlling plant growth. They're eating tons of fruit, so that means they're spreading seeds all over the place.
So they're like accidental gardeners.
Exactly, helping keep their habitat nice and diverse.
So they're not just these eating machines. They actually are keeping things balanced.
It's vital.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But back to the article, it says that in some parts of South America, people actually hunt or ranch capybaras.
That's right, yeah.
So, what's the deal with that?
Well, that's where things get a little bit more complex, because on the one hand, you've got capybara meat as a food source, and their hides are used for leather.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, you have to think about the sustainability and the ethics of those practices, right?
So it's not like a clear-cut thing.
Exactly. It's not black and white. Like,
Uh-huh.
take ranching, if it's done responsibly, it can be a way to, provide a food source and manage capybara populations at the same time.
Right.
But overexploitation is a real concern, and we need to be sure that, ethical considerations are the priority in these practices.
So it's all about finding that balance between human needs and also, being good to the capybaras.
Exactly. A delicate balance for sure.
Before we get too deep into that, though, I'm just curious. You mentioned earlier that there were 2 types of capybaras?
Oh, good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about the larger species. It's found throughout, a huge part of South America.
Okay.
But there's also the lesser capybara.
So lesser capybara.
Yeah, and it lives in a much smaller area in Panama, Colombia, and Venezuela.
So are they like mini-me versions of the bigger ones?
Well, they're still pretty big, around 3 feet long.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely smaller than the larger ones. And what's really interesting is that the 2 species, they have different relationships with humans.
Oh, really? How so?
So the larger species, that's the one that's usually ranched. The smaller one is mostly hunted in the wild.
So it's like 2 totally different approaches.
2 different approaches to using the same resource, each with its own, ecological and ethical implications.
Wow. Definitely adds another layer to the whole conversation.
It does.
It's not just capybaras is one thing. It's about how different people interact with them.
And how those different communities interact with each species.
Yeah.
Right? And how those interactions can have very different effects on both the capybaras, the populations, and their ecosystems. It's a good reminder that understanding these subtle differences is really important for conservation.
Yeah, it seems like we've got a lot more to unpack here. But on a brighter note, the article says that both types of capybaras are considered least concern by the IUCN. So that's good news, right?
That is great news.
Yeah.
The IUCN, that's the International Union for Conservation of Nature, they're like the global authority on, how species are doing. And their assessment means that capybara populations, for now at least, they're doing pretty well. They're stable.
Okay, good. That's a win for, biodiversity. I
Definitely.
mean, these gentle giants are out there doing their thing,
Thriving.
continuing to play their role in, their ecosystems.
And speaking of their role, I think we need to talk about their impact on the food web.
Okay.
Remember those predators we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars and anacondas? Those guys rely heavily on capybaras as a food source.
Right, yeah. So if capybaras disappeared, those predators would be in trouble.
Huge trouble.
But what about the rest of the ecosystem?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. See, capybaras, they're what we call a keystone species.
A keystone species.
Yeah, it means they have a disproportionately large impact on the environment. Think of it like, the keystone holding up an arch.
Gotcha, okay.
So if you take the keystone out,
The whole arch could fall apart.
exactly. The ripple effects, they would be felt everywhere. Predators would lose a key food source, plant communities would change, seed dispersal would be disrupted. The consequences, they could be, really massive. It's a powerful reminder that every creature, no matter how big or small, it plays a vital role in how nature stays in balance.
It's crazy to think about how these chill, laid-back animals have such a huge impact. I mean, I'm really starting to see why they're so much more than just giant rodents.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They really are fascinating, aren't they? It's kind of crazy how a creature that seems so, I don't know, low-key can be so important to their whole environment.
I know. Makes you want to, dig even deeper into their world.
For sure.
Speaking of digging deeper, this article, it mentions a little bit about how capybaras communicate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it says they make all these different sounds like whistles and clicks and even barks.
Really?
What's all that chatter about? What are they saying?
Well, it's mostly about, staying connected and safe. Those sounds, they're how they alert each other to danger,
Okay.
attract mates, even maintain that social order within the group.
So it's not just random noise, it's like an actual language.
A whole language system, and
Oh.
one that we're only just beginning to understand, really.
Mhm.
There's actually a lot of research going on right now focused on, decoding those sounds, figuring out what they mean and how complex their social interactions really are.
So it's like we're cracking the code of some secret society.
Right.
But instead of humans, it's a bunch of giant, chill rodents.
Exactly.
This is so cool. It makes me wonder about, their young.
Oh, the babies.
Yeah. The article says they have 1 litter a year. And they can have, multiple babies.
Yeah.
How do they learn all the capybara stuff? How to be a capybara?
Well, the amazing thing is these babies are up and running almost immediately after they're born.
What?
Yeah, they're born ready to go. They join the group right away. They start observing, mimicking their elders. And that helps them survive,
Oh, I see. So it's like capybara kindergarten starts right away.
basically.
But I bet it's not all fun and games, right? Growing up in the wild, they've got to face some challenges.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, predators are a constant threat, of course, but also things like, food shortages, sudden changes in their environment. That can be really tough for young capybaras. That's where having a strong social structure really helps.
Yeah.
The adults work together to protect the young ones, teach them the skills they need to survive.
It's like a tight-knit community, almost like a big family.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings up another cool thing about capybaras. It's called alloparenting.
Allo what?
Alloparenting.
Alloparenting.
Yeah, it means that individuals, besides the parents, help take care of the young. So in a capybara group, you might see aunts and uncles, even older siblings, pitching in to babysit, groom, even nurse the babies.
So it really is like a whole village raising them.
It is, and that's one of the reasons they do so well as a species.
Wow.
That cooperative parenting style makes sure the young ones have the best possible chance of survival.
That makes their chill reputation even more impressive,
Right.
They seem so relaxed, but under the surface, there's all this, social smarts.
Yeah, a real commitment to the well-being of the whole group.
That's amazing. And it brings us back to, the relationship with humans.
Right.
We were talking about ranching and hunting before.
Mm-hmm.
All of that needs to be managed carefully so we don't mess with their social structures or, how many of them are out there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a constant reminder that, what we do has an impact.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware of how we're affecting these animals and their world.
So speaking of impact, The article mentions habitat loss. It says it's a major concern.
It's huge, yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. As humans, we keep spreading out. We take up more and more space, and that means we're encroaching on capybara habitats.
Okay.
Deforestation, agriculture, urbanization,
Wow.
all of these things, they're contributing to breaking up their homes, making them smaller, and degrading the environment.
So it's not just hunting or ranching. It's like our whole way of life is impacting them.
Exactly. Imagine your home being like chopped up into smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Makes it harder to find food, water, mates. It's a serious problem, and we need to be paying attention to it.
So what can we do? Like, are there people out there working to protect capybaras?
Yeah, actually there are. While capybaras aren't considered endangered right now,
Okay.
there are organizations and researchers working hard to protect them and their habitats.
That's good to hear. What are they doing specifically?
Well, it's a multi-pronged approach. Some groups, they're focused on restoring habitats, planting trees, creating corridors, to connect those fragmented areas. Others are working with local communities to promote sustainable practices, teaching people about why it's important to protect capybaras.
So it's like a mix of science and working with the community.
Exactly, yeah. That's what makes conservation efforts really work.
It's awesome to know that there are people out there fighting for these creatures. But I can't help but wonder, what if we didn't do anything? What would a world without capybaras even look like?
That's a great question. And it brings us right back to that idea of keystone species.
Yeah.
Remember, capybaras have a huge impact on their whole environment.
Right.
If they were gone, things would change in a big way. It wouldn't just be about losing a cute giant rodent. It would be about disrupting that whole balance of the ecosystem. Predators would lose a crucial food source. Plants would be different, less seed dispersal. The consequences could be really significant.
It really makes you think, huh,
It does.
every species, even the ones that seem small or insignificant, they have a role to play.
They really do.
Right.
And we have the power to protect them or to harm them. It's a powerful reminder.
It is. It is. Yeah. It's a lot to process, right?
Mhm.
We went from these like giant chill rodents to like keystone species and the whole balance of nature. It's pretty amazing.
It is, it is. And that's what I love about capybaras. They kind of make you think about these bigger ideas,
Yeah.
about our planet and how
Wow.
everything's connected.
Totally. And I'm also realizing that chill doesn't mean they haven't had to adapt.
Yeah.
The article mentions they have some pretty interesting physical features that help them survive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like their design, right. They don't have much of a tail.
Right.
And those little ears, it's perfect for their lifestyle. Spending so much time in the water.
Streamlined.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Helps them move better, less chance of getting caught on things, hurt.
So it's like form and function all in one cute package.
Totally. And their digestion, too. Their system is like specially made to break down tough plants.
Makes sense. Speaking of diet, I got to ask, is it true they eat their own droppings?
It's true. It might sound a little weird, but it's actually really smart. It's called cacotrophy.
Say that again?
Cacotrophy.
Cacotrophy.
It basically means they make two kinds of droppings. The first one, it's soft and full of nutrients.
Oh.
They eat it again to get even more nutrients from their food.
So I get second chance at digestion.
You got it. Nature's full of these amazing solutions.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we've talked about their adaptations, their social lives, how they impact the ecosystem. What about the future? What's the long-term outlook for capybaras?
That's the big question, right? And scientists are trying to figure that out. The good news is both species are considered least concern right now.
Okay, so we can relax a little.
For now, yeah. But it's important to remember that can change, especially with things like habitat loss, climate change. That's all still happening.
Yeah, we can't just assume they'll always be okay.
Nope. That's why research and conservation efforts are so important. The more we know about them, the better we can protect them.
It really feels like we've just touched the tip of the iceberg here.
Right.
What are some of the things researchers are still trying to figure out?
Oh, tons of stuff, like how their social groups really work, how they communicate, their role in spreading seeds. And with climate change affecting, everything, understanding how capybaras deal with those changes, that's going to be really important for their survival.
It reminds you that science is always evolving.
Yeah. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know.
But that's what makes it exciting. So,
Yeah.
last question. What's the one thing you want listeners to remember about capybaras?
I think it's that they challenge what we think about rodents. They're not just these, big funny-looking creatures. They're adaptable, they're smart, they're vital to their ecosystems. It's a story about how powerful evolution is, how connected everything is, and how we need to take care of the planet.
Well said. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of the capybara. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Me too. And hey, maybe you'll be inspired to learn more. There's a whole amazing world of creatures out there just waiting to be discovered.
So true.
So until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep an eye out for those giant chill rodents. They have a lot to teach us.
They really do.